The day my mother married my stepfather, I thought my life was finally going to get better. I was 12. I remember standing beside my mother at the wedding, smiling for photographs, while my new stepfather stood beside us with a forced smile on his face. Everyone told me I was lucky. He'll be a great father figure, my relatives said. I believed them. I really did, but I was wrong. It started with little things. He stopped calling me by my name. Instead, he called me that girl. If I came into the living room, he would suddenly become quiet. If my mother bought something for me, he would complain about the money. If I got a good grade at school, he barely reacted. But if I made one tiny mistake, he made sure everyone knew about it. "You're always causing problems," he would say. I didn't understand why he hated me. I tried everything. I cleaned the house. I helped my mother with cooking. I kept my grades high. I even started avoiding him because I thought maybe I was annoying him without realizing it. But nothing changed. One evening, I came home from school holding a certificate. I had won first place in a writing competition. I ran into the kitchen, excited to show my mother. "Mom, look." She hugged me. But before she could say anything, my stepfather walked into the room. He looked at the certificate. Then he looked at me. "That's what you're excited about." My smile disappeared. "What?" He laughed bitterly. "It's just a school certificate. Don't act like you're special." I looked down at the paper. My mother immediately told him to stop, but he continued. "You waste everyone's time and money. Maybe if you spent less time dreaming and more time being useful, you'd actually become something." I went upstairs that night and cried into my pillow. I kept asking myself the same question. What had I done to make him hate me? Years passed. The cruelty never stopped. Eventually, I stopped trying to earn his approval. I stopped showing him my grades, stopped telling him about my achievements, stopped expecting him to treat me like a daughter. Then, when I was 17, something happened that changed everything. My mother became seriously ill and had to stay in the hospital. Suddenly, the house became quiet. There was no one between my stepfather and me anymore. One night, he came into the kitchen while I was studying. He sat across from me. For the first time in years, he didn't look angry. He looked tired. "I owe you an apology," he said. I stared at him. I didn't know what to say. He told me that when he married my mother, he had been jealous of the relationship we had. He saw how much she loved me and convinced himself that I was the reason he would never have her completely. So instead of dealing with his jealousy, he blamed me. Every insult, every cold look, every time he made me feel unwanted. It had never been because I wasn't good enough. It had been because he was. He was the one who was insecure. I listened silently. Then I finally said something I'd wanted to say for years. "You didn't just hurt me. You made me believe there was something wrong with me." He lowered his head. "I know." "No," I said. "I don't think you do." For the first time, he had nothing to say. I stood up and walked away. I never forgot what he did to me, and I never pretended everything was suddenly okay. But I finally understood something. His hatred had never been proof that I was unlovable. It was proof that he had his own brokenness that he chose to put on me, and I refused to carry it anymore. I was his stepdaughter, but I was never his victim. I was still the girl who loved writing, still the girl who dreamed about her future, still the girl who deserved to be loved. And this time, I finally believed it. But believing it didn't make everything disappear. The memories still came back at night. His voice still echoed in my head, sometimes telling me I wasn't enough, that I was a burden, that I would never matter. But now, when those thoughts came, I didn't accept them as truth anymore. I let them pass like noise outside a closed door. My mother eventually came home from the hospital weaker, but alive. She noticed the change in me. Not the silence I used to carry, but something steadier. "Are you okay?" she asked one evening while we sat together in the kitchen. I thought about it for a moment. For years, I would have said I'm fine, even when I wasn't. But this time, I chose honesty. "I'm healing," I said. And for the first time, that felt like enough. My stepfather stayed in the house, but things were different now. He no longer had power over my thoughts. He tried to speak to me sometimes, but I kept my distance not out of fear, but out of respect for myself. I didn't need his approval anymore. I didn't need his apology to define my worth. I had already survived the worst part, and I was still here. Months later, I returned to writing, again really writing. Not just school assignments, but stories that came from everything I had felt and endured. Pain, confusion, silence, strength. All of it went onto the page. And slowly, I realized something important. He had tried to make me feel small, but I had grown anyway, not because of him, but in spite of him.